Okay, so now I'm going to attempt to work from the same bad photograph, only this time I'm going to do this, instead of just being a value study, I'm going to do this thing in color. So I'm going to start again down here about a third. So I'm going to get that horizontal area right across there. I'll put that at the bottom third. Let's see here. I've got this little edge of this stream of water. The river comes across somewhere into there and down. And then over here on this side, the bank over here is a little steeper. So right there, and then I've got that shape coming up here. And then this side of the river comes down. There's that dark rocks there. It comes back. There's a slope that comes down here, and then I've got tree shapes on this side. You know, I'm not. You see how much I'm really taking my time to intricately draw these trees in. These will become trees later. I just right now, all I'm doing is just telling myself where the trees are. And now I'm going to go across the river, and this side filled in, and then I've got this hillside in the back. It comes across. It's a little bit like, see each of these, I'm just kind of, the first stage of my value study and the first stage of this are pretty close to the same. Now I've got, let's see, I've got these rocks. I'm going to use a little darker paint. Now I'm drawing on this. I'm not, you know, I'm drawing with a brush. I'm not trying to do a lot of detail, a lot of fine detail or anything. I'm just getting my basic shapes blocked in. And now, you know, actually is a pretty boring mountain in the back. So now see, I'm taking the peak of the mountain and putting the peak on the upper right-hand third. I don't ever want to put it in the center. This dominant tree section here is on the left-hand third. I kind of would like to get a little bit of a conversation going on between a primary center of interest and a secondary center of interest. Now I'm going to get a little bit of this, my verticals started down here in the water. Okay, so there's my sketch in. So the first thing I'm going to do now, I'm taking some of my cool mud. If you don't know about the cool mud and stuff, go to my video on palette organization and I explain all of this. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm taking some of my cool mud and I'm putting a little bit of my cool red and cool blue in it. I'm just getting in, I want some of this value in here for these rocky areas. It looks, you know, kind of like, you know, some lava basalt or something along this riverbank. And I just want to get, I don't want this to just be mud. I want there to be some color harmony going on in that. And then over here on this side, and see, I'm not, I need a little more red in that. I'm a little bit too much blue. Red tends to give more of a mineral earth color. Green tends to be foliage. Blue air. Yellow is light. Okay, so anyway, there's my foregrounds. I'll break that up just a little bit more. This is the darkest value. This is the stuff that's closest to the viewer. Now I'm going to take some cool mud and I'm adding some cool blue and some cool yellow to it. I want a dark, muddy, cool green. And these right over here on the left, these are the trees that are closest to the viewer. Things standing upright in the foreground are your darkest value. I'm going to bring that right on down to the ground. Do another one here. And see, now the difference between my drawing and getting on my values is the thickness of the paint. Or, you know, that's one of the differences. I'm adding color, but I'm also making my paint thick enough to be opaque. See, my drawing is just thin, washy stuff with a lot of the canvas showing through. My block in, if the canvas is showing through, I can't see the real value of the color. If the transparency is washing out, if I can see through the transparency, I can't, my eye, I don't know quite how to explain this, but I need the thick paint to stop my eye from going into the canvas. I need to know with my block in exactly what the value of my paint is, not the value of the paint with the canvas behind it. I want to block the canvas. Okay, so now I've got that. So now I'm just going to come down here and throw some stuff in for the reflections. One of the things that's important with reflections is that they're thick. you want to be able to smear paint around. When you go back over these reflections, you want to be able to smear the paint. Okay, so now I'm going over to the other side of the river, and remember, the other side of the river is further away. So what I'm doing, I'm adding blue and white. See, on my palette, I can see that it's lighter. I'm going to test it a little bit right there. See, I can see that I like that, how light that is. So now I can come in here, and these tree shapes. This is a hillside. These tree shapes are, I won't have nearly as much detail in them. I still want nice, thick paint. I don't want to be able to see through the paint on. I don't want to see the canvas. I want to look at this and see a wall of paint. Now, can you see already? You can see that this appears to go back further than this, just because it's lighter and bluer. And see, I'm not drawing any trees. I'm just getting my basic shapes in. Okay, now I've got that in, so now I'm going to come down here and get this reflection color in the water. Let's see, I'm going to measure that image right there. That comes down. That tree comes down to there. So my reflections will stop here because the land is stopping, and there may be a few more things that stick out down here. But okay, there's my closest verticals here, here, and here. This is my first midtone. My next step back. Each step back gets lighter and lighter. Now you see here, I'm not starting this forest out here. I'm starting it right next to this forest. If I start it out here, I may get over to here and find out I've got the wrong value. I want to know before I commit to this color, to this value, I want to know exactly how much different in value those two colors are. You see, I'm not stopping to try to make realistic trees. And if you notice in here, I'm slopping paint into paint. I have to keep, getting some cleaner paint in my brush, but I don't want to have those little spotlights of canvas tone poking through. I want to get the canvas covered with paint. I can't do any kind of finishing until I know what my color value system is. And some artists plan that all ahead of time. I don't. I let it happen as I go, as I progress on the painting. Okay, so now I have to take this color, or this color value, and fill in down here, start getting my reflections in the water. Now I'm going to measure the height of that wall of trees, and that wall of trees is coming down to right in there. Okay, so now my next step back is I'm going whiter, adding more white paint to this, and blue to go back to this last little bit of mountain. Getting in here around these trees this can be kind of scary getting in around these, because you don't want to mess up the colors that are already on here, but it really doesn't matter, because you're really mostly just getting in vague shapes. So you don't have to worry at this point about being careful. In fact, being careful is the enemy at this point. Now, as I go back up here, I can see some really faint stuff going on with this mountain. I may want to take that mountain up a little past the tree line. This can be a problem with my paintings in that I tend to digress quite a bit from my reference. I'm going to add a little more white, and I'm adding a little bit of red. See how that takes that mountain. It makes the mountain a little more interesting, puts it up above the tree line. So there's all of my vertical values. So now what I'm going to do is I'm getting over here, you can see I'm adding a little bit of green, a little bit of white, maybe a little touch of red. Greens look a lot more natural if they have a little bit of red in them. So now I'm going to, now I'm coming in here, That's not too bad. I think it needs a little more blue in it. And there's some of this ground comes up through the trees there. And I'm gonna get a little bit of this green. I want to have a little bit of that green in the water for reflections. Okay, I've got that. Okay, now I'm going to come over here into the foreground. I think what I'm going to do is add just a little more yellow, a little more white. I want the foreground to move towards me as well. And so I want to have the foreground just a little lighter than the background horizontals. Now, hopefully you can start to see the picture appearing. Okay, you can see I've done the same. This is the same steps as my value study. I'm just putting a little bit of color in it. Okay, now I'm going up and getting into the sky. Good. Now I'm starting with white, and I'm now using my first warm color. And my first warm color is the bottom of the sky. If you go out and look at the sky, it's kind of almost kind of a teal, greenish looking color at the bottom of the sky. And then it gets lighter, the sky gets lighter and cooler as it goes up. Now this is the one place when you're starting the sky and getting in down around this mountain, don't touch the mountain. Every place else, I would say, let your colors run into each other. But if you're up here at the bottom of the sky, what's going to happen, you'll end up, if you touch these trees or the sky, if you touch the trees or the mountain with your brush, you're going to end up getting a dirty sky. Now, what's happening here is the light, I can see by the shadows in the footer, the light's coming from the right. So I'm going to go ahead and use warm blue all the way up here, the upper right-hand corner, even though I made it just subtly darker, just a little bit. In fact, I could even probably make it a little bit darker. Still, there. See, so I get a little, if you just do your sky a solid color value, the sky will stand here. If it's a little darker at the top, the sky will start to appear to fold back over you. It'll have more depth, more distance. So what I'm doing now, I'm adding a little bit of white, and I'm putting a little bit of cool blue into this. I want the sky to get darker and cooler as it goes to the left. Okay, there's my painting blocked in. Now, I don't want to stop and finish anything until my painting is entirely blocked in. When I was first learning this system, my instructor would watch me start. I'd have half the painting blocked in, and I'd be finishing these trees over here, and he would walk up, shove me out of the way, and take a palette knife and scrape everything off and have me start over. Okay, now I have laid out this painting going front to back, dark to light. I'm only going one direction in value. I'm going darkest, lighter, 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 horizontal lighter, and sky lightest. That way I don't end up sandwiching myself between two values somewhere. I'm keeping it really, really simple. It's really deceptively difficult to do. So you want to keep it as simple as you can. Okay, so now let's see here. I'm gonna need to slosh out my brush. Now I want to finish from back to front. So what I need to do is I'm looking at my sky. Is my sky done? If the sky needs anything, now is the time I should do the sky. And I think what I'm going to do is just pretty much leave it alone at this point. Now, the light is coming from the right. What I'm going to do, I'm testing this color, my block-in color of my mountain. Now, I had to leave that little halo around the mountain. Now's the time to take it out. Now's the time to paint that halo, painting the mountain up into the sky. Okay, now I reblocked in that mountain with the same color. Now I've got some of that color in my brush. Now I'm coming over to the warm side, and I'm taking some white and a little bit of warm red. I'm going to test it there. Yeah, I like that color. Now I'm taking some warm red, and again, I'm overlapping into the sky, but see how I'm getting the illusion of light of warmth hitting that mountain. Now my block in, I do almost my entire block in. I do my entire block in with the exception of the lower part of the sky with cool colors. I hold my warms in reserve so that I can use them to punch to get more warmth. So now what I've got to do is now I got to find this color, and now that I've got that shape in, I think I'm going to do a lot of little vertical brush strokes with this. And just let the little hairs of the brush kind of convince the viewer that I've painted trees. I haven't painted any trees. I'm just creating the illusion of trees. Now, this is one of the things that can really strengthen your painting if you really get into this. You're not trying to paint the picture. You're trying to supply some globs of paint here that the viewer can use to convince himself that you've painted a picture. Now, okay, now I've got the map. Now you see I reblocked in that. Then I put the warmth in it. Now I've reblocked in this forest up there, and now I'm going to take a little bit of warm blue and a little bit of yellow. It's in the background, so I can put a little bit of white and some red. I need a little bit of red. Now I'm going to test it. Now, see, I got it too dark. The temperature is right, but it's too dark. Value is everything. If you violate the value system, the painting is not going to work. No amount of fussing with detail will save the painting if the values aren't right. And see, now what I'm going to do here is I've still got that highlight area just a little bit too dark. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to darken this area in here a little more. See if I can. Okay, now I'm going to. And another thing you have to be really careful with white in your warm colors. One of the places you can use white with your warms is in the background. In the background is, I would say this is my my verticals are my dark values. This is my lightest dark. It's also my coolest warm. It's in the background, just in case you weren't confused enough. Okay, so there I've got kind of the forest going up to the tree line. Now I'm going to I've got to kind of see if I can find this color, and I'm going to reblock this in. See these trees. I just let kind of the collection of little brush hairs indicate those trees. These trees down here are little tiny brush strokes. No cross hatching, but just little tiny brush strokes. So I'm finishing. See, I'm coming back forward. I blocked in from the front. Then I always know what to do next. Once it's blocked in, I finish the sky, finish the background mountain. Now I've got this midground mountain now that I'm finishing. And let's see here. I think it's a little darker. I'm going to take see if I can get put a little bit of warms in there right up on the ridge line. Get a little bit of light hitting this. Okay, now as I come down, I just noticed, as I come down, okay, I want this mountain to not just be standing vertical. I want it to come towards the viewer. The way I do that is now just very subtly, I want to do these little vertical brush strokes a little darker and a little darker as they come down to the bottom. So it indicates, see just like here where your darks are, the darks are closest, the lights are further away. These dark tree shapes at the bottom will appear to the viewer to be closer than these trees at the top, which are lighter. Okay, and see, and this back here in the background, I don't want anything to be really tightly finished back here, because back here, this is the curtain behind the stage and the cast of thousands. This is the setting. The romantic lead is up here. So this is all the murmuring in the background, the voices in the restaurant, all that. You don't want to overpower your painting with those. As I start to get up into here, now I'm getting into the cameos and the walk-ons and the little sub-stories that are going on. I'm not at the romantic lead yet, but I'm a little closer. Now, what I want to do here, now see, I don't want to just have a collection of trees that are all evenly spaced. I don't want them to look like they were like they were planted by a farmer. I need to have a lot of randomness in here. A lot of spontaneity. Okay, now this one too, now I can add just a little more, get a little more dark paint in my brush. See this hillside, that's the furthest away. This hillside is coming back from the as I go to the right, it's coming forward, it's coming towards the viewer. So I want to have a little bit darker paint. Now it's harder to put dark over light because the dark, I'm putting this dark color is very transparent. The lighter colors, you have a lot of white in your lighter colors, so they're more opaque. Okay, so now what I want to do in this now, see the light's coming from here, so I don't want any warmth really in here. I guess there's some, the way this photograph is, there's some light there. But I think what I want to do is I want to keep to the cool side. And I want to get the sense of the hillside going up. Now way back here in the back, I've left out some of this shoreline. That should go in back here before I start on this. I just didn't see it back there. Okay. Now I've got some of these little brush strokes going up to the right. Now, in order to get that forest to look right, what I'm going to do is now I've got to get this darker green color here. Now I want to cross over those things so I can make it look like there are little these are little areas going up the hill, but there's trees standing in front of them. Okay, so now let's see here. I'm going to add a little blue and white here just to get to these colors, to get some of the area. I'll see that. I had a little bit too much dark stuff in my brush. So there. Okay, and now I've got those rock things that I want to. I've got the shoreline coming across here, and I'm just going to get that rocky shoreline, just little tiny spots of my brush. I want to get back over here in my palette where the purples live. And see, what I want to do is I want to entertain the viewer with just little rhythms and things. I don't want to paint rocks for the viewer. I just want to get some brush strokes in that the viewer will use to be convinced that I painted rocks. I just want to stimulate the viewer's imagination. Okay, so I've got a little bit of that. Now I'm going to just take a little bit of my sky color and maybe put a few little highlights on these. I don't want to use any warm on these rocks because these are in shade. But I think I do want to put, I am going to put just a little bit of, not too much white. I think I'm going to try just a little bit of orange in this, just to get a highlight on the top of that shoreline. So I want that shoreline to lay flat, and to do that it has to be lighter than any of the vertical areas in the painting. Okay, now there's a little bit of this paint. I've got some dry areas of canvas right there that I need to cover. Okay, so now, see, you can still see the distance. This painting is done, down into here. Now I have to come over and do these foreground trees. So now I'm going to mix up. I'm taking some more of my cool mud and I'm putting some cool blue and some cool yellow in it. And then I'm just barely going to touch that top. And I don't want to do an image of, the Christmas tree, a symbol of the Christmas tree I learned when I was in the 3rd grade. I want to just do a collection of brush strokes down here. I want to create rhythms. I've got, part of my mind knows that that I'm painting a tree, but I want the tree to have some character. I don't want it to be, the same tree I painted yesterday or the day before. I want each of these trees, I want to have their own personality. I need some fat trees, some skinny trees. Mostly, I need to not control the brush that much. I need to be more cognizant that I'm just creating some rhythms. It's more like I'm playing a musical instrument than I'm running a paintbrush. And here's one of the things I should go into. I try this on each video. I should talk about this. Don't hold your brush like a pen. If you hold your brush like a pen, that tip flattens. It's almost worthless. It's going to only do one thing, and that's dig up paint underneath. If I hold the brush like this, I have a nice range of motion. I can use the blade of the brush. I can turn it slightly. I can use the face of the brush. I can use the tip if I have to. Sometimes I want to dig some paint up and have it with, and combine it with the paint that's already there. Now, again, I got to make. And see, I couldn't touch these trees when I was doing the sky, so I have to make those trees a little taller so that as they come down and I fill in that halo around them, it looks a little better. I can make more of that gradual growing of the tree as it comes down. Okay, one more. And another thing, as you get closer to the edge of your canvas, don't finish things. You don't want to have interesting things over here. You don't want to draw the viewer over to here. You want to draw the viewer into here. If you draw the viewer over to here, something in the next gallery may catch their eye and they're going to go buy that painting instead of yours. Okay, I'll get some of this basalt rock stuff on this side of the river. And this basalt is I've got some mud with blue and red. I want this to be mineral, so it's kind of on the purple side. I'm going to take a little bit of, these trees are going to be casting a little few shadows off to the left. Now I want to get some warm. I'm taking some warm blue, warm yellow, a little bit of red, and I want the light to hit the land here. And I think, okay, I'm going to, a little more yellow. Okay, now the tree's coming out. I'm going to take the land up like that so it goes kind of back behind that tree a little bit. And if I put a few little brush strokes back in here, it'll look like things are going back into the forest. I don't have to worry about, painting all the detail back in there. I just want to, I want the viewer to be convinced that I have painted some detail back into there. Okay, now let's see here. Now I want to come down into here a little bit. The water flows down this way, so I got to bring a little more of this shoreline down here on this side. Okay, now let's see here. I'm gonna put some of this cool here on the foreground on this side. And see, I'm not putting all the detail in the photograph. Another problem with painting from a photograph is it gives you way too much detail. It starts confusing you. Remember, you're making a movie based on the novel. This is telling you everything. you're trying to compress, a 300-page novel down to a hour-and-a-half movie. So you have to eliminate a lot of things. Okay, so now let's see, where was I? Okay, I think I need a few more little rock shapes in here. Okay, so now I want to put a few highlights. Light's coming from the right, so I want to put a few highlights on these trees. And what I'm doing for these is I'm taking basically some warm blue, some warm yellow, and a little tiny bit of either warm mud or red, and getting just a few little highlights on the highlit side, on the side that the sun is hitting. Now see, on this second tree, I can either bring it forward in front of that tree, or I can stop right in here and let it go. Even though it's taller, it can still be on the other side. I think what I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to go ahead and bring this tree down. Now I'm not going to highlight that tree. I'm going to let that, see, if I don't highlight that tree, it'll go back. I'm going to put just a few little highlights on this tree. I want this tree to still go back, so got that one, and then this tree is pretty dominant, so I'll put a few highlights on this tree, but it's getting too close to the edge of the canvas. I don't want, there's a little bit of highlight there, but not enough to draw you over there. Your eye is going to be drawn, I want your eye drawn to right here. Right where this brightest part of the ground meets the dark. So I've got a darkest value next to a lightest value right in there. I'm putting some of the magic in the painting now. Okay, now I'm taking some white and I'm putting a little bit of warm blue in it. What I want to start out with is that color. The further the water is away, the more it's going to reflect that color in the sky. So what I'm going to do now is just get a few little, and then I'm sticking most of this, you see, near that shoreline, because water ripples when it hits the shoreline and gives a little bit of reflection. And this is moving water, so I want a little bit of stuff out there in the middle. And let's see here, I'm coming down into here, and now I'm not putting any paint in my brush right now. I'm just I'm smearing the colors that are already there. This is why I need thick paint in the water, because I need to be able to smear these colors. Now I don't want too much horizontal when I get over here to the edge of the canvas. I don't want the viewer going over there and buying the next painting in the canvas. I want them to stay here with mine. So now what I'm going to do is I think I'll take some warm white. If you remember from my other videos, warm white is just white with a little bit of warm red and warm yellow in it. Now don't ever use any pure white anywhere in your canvas. It looks like chalk, it looks like crap, and it'll immediately identify you as an amateur painter. So make sure if you use white, if you're using much white, make sure it's warm. You have something to warm it up or cool it down. Now here this is the lightest part of my water, and so I need some punch here to keep bringing the viewer down here into the front. So I think and I think I would like to have just a little bit of a ripple right here where it comes around the bend there. That's a little too much, but I think I can, yeah, I can smear it a little bit, make it. Okay, that's it. So what I've done is given you a value study and then a painting with color and with temperature. Your first consideration in a painting is value. Value is 90% of your painting. The next consideration is temperature, which, you know, whether it's going to be, you know, a warm, whether the light is hitting it or not. And the third consideration is color. You want a nice color harmony, but if you don't have value and you don't have some nice temperature effects, color isn't going to save you. Color can only make it better, but it can really make it worse too. Value first, temperature second, color third. And then overriding all that is composition. So my romantic lead is right here. I'd say from there down to there is curtain behind the stage. Here is all of the cameos and the walk-ons and the best supporting actors and all that. But your romantic lead, pick one place for your romantic lead to be.
Looks good.
Okay.